Hello and welcome to this IsleVote21 online meeting for the Isle of Wight County Council seat of Sandown North. A brief word for the benefit of the public. IsleVote21 has been formed with the sole purpose of enhancing democracy by providing an unbiased platform for candidates. We have no affiliations or funding and no candidates are aware of what questions will be asked today, although a list of topics was distributed in advance to enable candidates to prepare. All 138 candidates in this year's County Council election have been invited, either directly or via group and party leaders. The following candidates have been invited to this meeting. Ian Fletcher, Conservative Party, Debbie Andre, Independent, Clive Cheetham, Labour Party, and Stephen Parks, Independent. With us today, as you can see, are Debbie and Stephen. Candidates will be asked questions from our pool of questions, plus others that have been submitted by the public regarding island-wide issues and their specific locality. Candidates have been informed that there is a 2-minute limitation on answers. I will raise my hand as we approach that cutoff, and I kindly request the candidates finish up promptly afterwards. Before that commences, candidates have 2 minutes to give a personal statement. Debbie, please go ahead.
Thank you, Stephen. Hello, everyone. I'm Debbie Andre, and I'm currently the ward member for Sandown North and a Sandown Town Councillor. I put myself up for election back in May 2017 after starting to develop an interest in local government in 2014. This came about because I was concerned at the lack of progress in general in Sandown, and I wanted to find out why. I started attending town council meetings, and quite honestly, I was shocked at how badly and unprofessionally things were being run. I then broadened my interest to the Isle of Wight Council, and this gave me a good overview of how the system worked. Since being elected, I've been lucky enough to be selected for 2 local government association courses, one on local government leadership. And in May 2019, I was elected the leader of the Island Independent Group, the largest opposition group in County Hall, of which I'm still the leader. As many of you will know, I've not had an easy ride over the last 4 years, but this has only made me more determined. And that's why I'm standing again, as there is so much more that I want to do. I'm only just getting started. That said, there have been many wins over the last 4 years, which I will expand upon later in this discussion. Thank you.
Super, thanks ever so much, Debbie. And Stephen, please go ahead.
Well, yes, okay. Welcome, everybody. Good to see you. And Debbie, I wished a happy birthday for yesterday, for 2021. Wish you all the best. Good to see you, Stephen. And thanks for inviting us all. And okay, just the 2 of us happen to both be independents. We note the Conservatives and Labour have declined to join us for whatever reason. So you may ask, why 2 independents? Why am I standing all of a sudden? I did swap a few weeks ago from Sandown South to Sandown North, and also to stand for Isle of Wight Council as well. Now, a lot of people may not realise, behind the scenes, I've been doing a lot, local council, local community. Debbie Andre, Councillor Andre there, has mentioned her time with local councils, and I go back, in fact, with Debbie, with Paul Brading. Debbie will remember 3 of us sitting alongside each other in the old former Sandown Town Hall in Grafton Street, attending those Sandown Town Council meetings then. And in fact, I don't mind admitting, I voted for both candidates for both Sandown Town Council and Isle of Wight Council all those years ago. I didn't stand myself then. I was observing, and I've been observing and learning ever since. Policies, procedures, councillors, debates, and the general way, as Councillor Andre has said, things proceed. Now, bringing right up to date, the last year or 2, I'm a member of Isle of Wight Chamber, British Chambers of Commerce. I've had debates and discussions with our Isle of Wight Tory MP, Mr. Bob Seeley. about the various issues we may be talking about here today. I've been to many Zoom meetings with ex-Chancellor Gordon Brown, and that's the hand waving saying, is that 2 minutes?
That was 2 minutes. The hand goes up at 1 minute 45. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Lovely.
Sorry. I mean, depending how the meeting goes, perhaps we can run on a little bit later. But I'm a little bit pushed for time, so I do apologise for interrupting. But
no, you don't have to apologise.
Debbie,
no.
First question to you. Can you name one policy that the council should lobby central government for?
Absolutely, Stephen. There is one overriding issue with this island that I think affects all other areas of our success as an island, and that's to have a unique designation as an island park, for example. The Glover Review identified that there should be and could be unique designations. The island would retain its planning status, but one of our main disadvantages, if you like, is that we are not recognised fully as an island by central government. Now, I know that there has been work done. I know that there was a paper produced that actually did recognise the island's unique status, but it just doesn't go far enough. We need to have a policy drawn up that recognises us as a unique designation, that we retain our own planning, because that's a major issue on the island, that we are given unsustainable housing targets by an algorithm that works nationally that doesn't work for the island. Also, our connectivity is absolutely crucial, and that would all come within the policy with regards to the island factor, whereby a study was commissioned actually by the Independent Administration back in 2016 through Portsmouth University, which identified at that time that 6.5 million extra we have to pay as an island because of that island factor. So we really do need a fully drafted and workable policy, and that's what I would lobby government for. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Debbie. The same question to you, Stephen. Something to lobby government for?
Right. Well, my view on this is slightly different to everyone else and probably most other independents, because my policies are honesty, trust, mutual respect, care and compassion for each other as fellow human beings. And therefore this converts into council, local councils and Isle of Wight Council, and also politics nationally, working across party. So I have a new independent fusion group, which is working, Labour and Tories and Greens and Lib Dems in the middle. And this is what I wanted to set up ahead of these elections. There wasn't time because of coronavirus. We didn't even know the Conservatives were going to proceed with these elections. It's all been a bit of a last minute rush. And as Debbie Andre said, yes, I've been in and out of hospital. I'm fine now, thank you. I'm back, ready, fit and well and fighting. So fusion is what I'm looking for. I'm looking at a 2-year plan ahead of the next general election, when the island will be divided into two boundaries with 2 MPs, working together, cross-party politics. My question is, this funding, there's been so much money spent on feasibility studies, studies after studies. Now, the key issues are transport, travel, tourism, housing, the future of the Isle of Wight. I don't want to spend any more of these funds and monies, great big commercial schemes. What we want to do is sit down and have a serious think about what our local residents and businesses actually want with their life on the Isle of Wight. Do they want the fixed link tunnel, the expansion of the railway, the bridge over the River Medina? How do they want to live our life? Sustainable farming? Do we want to bring back our manufacturing industry? self-sufficient, or are we going to be linked to central government forever and the mainland with dictating, as Councillor Andres alluded to, the spending and the budgets, and that's it. So what is it that our residents, our voters, actually want from their Isle of Wight? So we start at the bottom. We ask them.
Stephen,
that's it.
Please. I really would kindly ask you to respect the hand. It goes at 1:45. The next question, straight in for you. You have been given £20 million to spend on projects to revitalise the island. What springs to mind that would give the maximum benefit?
Thank you, Stephen. That's a really...
That was for Stephen first. You had...
sorry, I apologise.
We're swapping. Okay. Well, if I borrowed 15 seconds last question, Stephen, I'll give it back to you both this question. That can only be fair and reasonable. £20 million, it sounds like a lot of money. It isn't really. And my answer simply is I don't have fixed policies. We have bullet points, and somebody said to me 3 bullet points. Let's do 6. There could be 15, there could be 20. If we have funding available from central government, what I am saying is that funding, to me and to many other people, is very precious. We should spend it wisely. And in order to spend it wisely, we need to sit down first, step back and think. Again, I say, what kind of a future do our residents, our local residents, our businesses, the Isle of Wight, the tourism, the transport, the travel, what is it that we really need? Because what we've seen, greatest respect with this Tory government, one policy after another, they seem to be very secretive. They have funding from central government. They want to keep the island as a Conservative majority, especially on Isle of Wight Council, but they don't seem to talk to their electorate. They're not acknowledging what perhaps is best for the local community. And so we see empty derelict buildings, hotels, etc. So I'm saying, let's sit down and think first. Think. These funding is precious, these funds. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stephen. And Debbie, same question to you. It might seem a little bit frivolous, but maybe it can give us some insight into your thinking. £20,000 for revitalisation projects.
Sorry, million.
I was going to say, Steve gets 20 million, I get 20,000.
Deflation.
I do agree with Steve that 20 million is a drop in the ocean. But I still think if it's applied prudently, that it could make a genuine difference. I think one of the most fundamental, Maslow's hierarchy of needs is crucial here. And I think housing, at the last count, we had over 2,500 people on the housing register, but there's over 500 empty properties. One of the initiatives that we actually proposed, my group proposed in the budget this year, was to actually enable property owners to actually bring their properties up to a standard that would actually allow them to rent. But the caveat on that would be that they would have to be rented out as social housing at housing benefit rates. And I think that's absolutely crucial. There's actually a differential. People on the housing list are being pushed into the private rental sector. There's a differential between housing benefit rates and private sector rates that people who can ill afford it are having to make up. So I think we need to do everything that we possibly can to make truly affordable social housing. The other thing is that our housing associations that we have very good relationships with, that do a great job in providing housing, shouldn't be the only social housing that we provide. I think we have a moral responsibility and a duty as a local authority to actually be providing social housing ourselves. And I think 20 million could go a way to providing that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Or seed funding or pump priming, which is not an expression,
Absolutely.
not an
Oven
expression
ready.
I like, but pump priming, but yes, it gets used. Debbie, this next question is for you first. How would you work to encourage less reliance on motor vehicles and develop more sustainable methods of transport?
Thank you, Stephen. Well, that's another initiative that we actually put forward as part of our budget amendments, to have a car share club. I know something similar was tried before on the island, but I think coming out of the pandemic, people have realised, certainly in my case personally, I'm using my car a lot less. And I've read some interesting articles recently about whether the motor car should actually be the method of transport of choice for most people. But if we're going to encourage people out of their cars, we have to give them credible alternatives. I think the fact that buses are expensive on the island, I think there's a real opportunity here, and FitBus is a very good example of this, that we need more community buses run individually as community bus companies to serve our communities. We need to invest more in cycleways. And I've had conversations with the Island Line, with Southwestern Trains, about running cycleways alongside railways. And of course, we do have this £26 million investment in our railway, and I'm part of the Restoring Our Island Railways group, which I think is a fantastic initiative to actually bring back the trains. So I think we need to give people credible, affordable alternatives, and that's how we will encourage more sustainable transport. Thank you.
Super. Thank you very much, Debbie. The same question to you, Stephen, about encouraging sustainable transport.
Okay, now this is a difficult question for any council, Isle of Wight Council, and any politician also from Westminster, London as well, for the UK as a whole. The island, as we know, is a wonderful place, and it has special and unique circumstances which are not the same as London, and cannot be dictated to always by London and funding through central government. There has to be, first and foremost, a review of all these things, a sensible review. Now, transport, travel and access to and from the Isle of Wight across the Solent, and how that's going to develop in the future, whether it be our car ferries, whether they be privatised monopolies taking off the profits for themselves, for big fat company directors and offshore, or whether they're going to reinvest in the Isle of Wight itself, whether we're going to have a fixed link tunnel with a proper feasibility study up to date that's already actually been done in the past. Let's sit down and review this. On the island, the tourism and leisure industry, we know, has totally been shut down, of course, by coronavirus. Moving forward, coronavirus will still be with us, mutating all the time. So medical research has to keep up with that, with vaccines in the proper way. Now, in terms of our towns, our roads as they are, our road system on the island cannot cope with increasing traffic. Electric scooters I see as a gimmick, not a solution. But there is some question of the future of retail high street, and we've got a lot of empty shops. We need to look at that and say, who are the people that are coming to our high streets? Are we going to pedestrianise the high streets? Parking is a huge issue. We cannot expand. The road network won't cope with the extra traffic. Cycling, I agree, walking and a healthy lifestyle. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you. We got your points. Thank you very much. The next question is for you first, Stephen. There's a little bit of a preamble. And the question comes really at the end. 1 in 5 people have a disability. equating to around 28,000 island residents having some form of disability or long-term illness. What commitment will you give to reduce the inequalities for disabled people on the island with a view to improve facilities, services and employment for disabled residents and visitors? And I should just note the last question about transport, this one and the next question have been submitted by the public. Okay.
Could I just first kindly clarify, Stephen, there, when you kindly use in inverted commas the word disabled, are you really meaning disabled access as in wheelchairs, people who can't walk properly, they may have had heart attacks, strokes, or are we talking, when we say disabled in a wider sense, are we talking of community care?
Well, this question was submitted, I won't give the name, but it was submitted by someone who works full-time in accessibility and disability rights. And I am not able to answer that, but I mean, I think perhaps you can help me. I mean, what counts as a disability? I think hard of hearing, poor eyesight, mobility issues.
Physical mobility.
Yeah.
I'm thinking also, you see, the broader picture here.
Now, Stephen, let me start the timer. Are you ready to answer the question? What are we going to do for these people? Okay, so I think we've clarified that. Go ahead.
Yeah, the broader picture as well. I'm thinking a local Isle of Wight NHS, access for certain things to the mainland hospitals for a life-saving treatment as well, time delays, mental health care, support. Certainly we've seen that in the coronavirus. In terms of physical, if you like, disablement, wheelchair access, if this is what the question really means, the answer to that question, of course, it is rather difficult on our islands, particularly if you're trying to live, as many retired people do, for example, in Ventnor on the hillside, where there's regular shall we say, slippage of land, cliff falls, things are moving. This is the nature of our coastline. So obviously, what does worry me, the future, people retire here as well, and indeed islanders who were born here retire. Work, we hope there's enough sustainable work. But when they retire, people, for example, living in Ventnor, I'm mentioning Ventnor as an example, rely very much on their cars. Now, once they cannot drive any longer, sadly, if they've had heart attack, stroke, for example, they suddenly realise they can't walk up and down these hills. They have knee trouble, hip problems. There's a huge waiting list on the NHS. So the answer here, public toilets, access, obviously we've got to look at the whole thing, town centres on the level, and how we can improve things realistically within a sensible budget where we can. And these, we have to accept that some people can't say we're going to live on a hillside and be disabled in a wheelchair. We have to help them maybe relocate somewhere sensible where we can provide facilities within a reasonable budget.
Thank you, Stephen. Same question to you, Debbie. What commitment will you give to reduce the inequalities faced by disabled people on the island?
Thank you, Stephen. Well, I have over the last 4 years been working with Jan Brooks, the CEO of a company called Isle Access. And I'm absolutely indebted to her for the insight that she's given me. For me, we have a moral duty to provide access for all. And for me, it's about accessibility, not disability. Everyone has the right to access the same facilities and services. And that's what we are about as a local authority. It's about providing services and facilities for everyone. Now, I have actually been working, as I say, over the last 4 years. I actually discovered that there is a sound chair in my own ward based at Dinosaur Isle, And for those that don't know, a sand chair is a type of wheelchair with great big wheels that you can actually take onto the beach. Residents have said to me, I know a resident who is wheelchair bound and he couldn't go onto the beach with his family. Now, that's something that just shouldn't happen. But with these sand chairs, they're actually free to use just for a small deposit. So I've shared that widely. We've also looked at a model of a hotel that is actually run in Minehead by adults with learning disabilities that actually trains them, and perhaps it gives them the opportunity they would otherwise not have careers afterwards. I think it's very, very important that we look at accessibility. I also had a bus stop moved because it couldn't be accessed fully by everyone. So it's something very dear to my heart and something that I think should be the basis of every policy that we look at: access, not focusing on the disability. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I think it's a very eye-opening statistic, isn't it? When you suddenly think there's 28,000 people on the island. It's a tremendous number of people, and really all they should have the right to a full life in every way possible. And not only that, you know, I mean, think how much these people can give if they're fully enabled to engage. So 28,000 people is a very, very considerable number. Debbie, question for you. What will you do to address all the empty shops in each town? The main streets are dying. What should the council do to specifically address this issue?
Thank you, Stephen. I think it's fair to say that the pandemic has highlighted and sped up the change in our high streets that's been happening over the past decade. We need to make our high streets more user-friendly for everyone. I think if we need a completely different parking strategy. If we make car parks free or cheap for short stays, and pedestrianise at least part of our high streets to make them traffic-free zones, will increase the footfall for local businesses, which in turn will benefit the council by more successful businesses and therefore more business rates. I think we need to get churn in our high streets, with people coming in by a variety of means: car, cycling, walking, buying things from our independent traders, and then leaving, so that more people come in, knowing that they can easily navigate in and out of the town and the shops. And again, this will be of particular benefit to those with accessibility issues. And as we've alluded to, it's not just about people with mobility issues, it's people with dementia, many of whom find it difficult to cope with traffic noise. And I think we should have a reasonable set fee of, say, £5 a day for long stay parking and scrap the overnight charges. I believe that this would result in a net gain overall and would deter drivers from parking all day in residential streets. And as we know, parking in residential streets is a big issue in the ward. So that's what I would do to regenerate the high street. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you very much. Same question to you, Stephen. Very hot topic, of course.
Absolutely.
High street regeneration.
Right, I go back to an answer I gave at least twice earlier, and the solution to this problem is not an easy one, and it requires very careful thought. And what I think and believe and see has been happening with this Isle of Wight Tory Council over this last session is there is funding available from central Tory government, and they spend the money, and they're not seeming to think, say longer term, short to medium term. There doesn't seem to be realistic plans, strategies, town planning. Now, the point is we have to ask the people who live on the island, what kind of island do they want for the future? Councillor Andre's alluded to all these ideas, and I'm very sorry to say, Councillor Andre, with respect, these are words. This is hearsay words. These are not sensible thought out policies. We have to have a review. There's a lot of empty shops. Speaking of Sandown, the Bay Area, our derelict hotels, buildings, high street shops. Newport is the same. Shanklin seems to be flourishing. I ask myself why. Oh, is it because Poundland is there? Next to Co-op, we have a post office, estate agents, fast food takeaways. And it's all very well people saying we must get islanders to support local business high streets. Yes, some of that might be pedestrianisation, Mediterranean-style cafes. Transport access, parking is an issue. We must not let our high streets convert to residential, which is what's happening now with the council. The main thing I want to just finish, one sentence, please, Stephen. We have to ask our islanders, is this what you really want? Because, or do you want big superstores who are flourishing like Asda, maybe Tesco? Where did you buy your clothes from? Where, you know, parking is easier. Asda's doing well. What's happening to our superstores? So this
Thank
is
you, Stephen.
What kind of future do we want? And where are we going to buy our shopping and our clothes?
Stephen, the last question is going to be for you. That is, knowing your local community as you do, what local issue would you like to address that you know is of concern to residents?
Only one issue, or do you mean the list of issues?
Just one, and please keep it short. I really am pushing the time now, so please.
Yes. Okay. Well, transport access, public toilets, I'm sorry, it's a big bugbear of mine. There's a huge budget, thousands and thousands of pounds are invoiced to our local council and to Isle of Wight Council for deep cleaning, maintenance, disinfecting, sanitisation in the coronavirus. I think that is a priority for our visitors. Now Isle of Wight Council want to open up the months of June, July, August, September, have a bumper summer season. I think we should be proud of our public toilets, our facilities. They're in a state, an awful state, and it's been like that for many years. I've said about it. The other main issue for Sandown North, we know, is the green open space, Brown's Golf Course, the future there, Sandown Canoe Lake. Now, during the lockdown and the coronavirus, it's been a huge support, mental well-being, if you like. You cannot put a price on it. It's priceless. The families, the children have been down there feeding the ducks and swans. The natural green open space, 3,000 plus local residents signed a petition with Sandown Hub and Port Cousland to retain Brown's Golf Course, essentially as it is, improve the facilities and enhance our heritage and our culture there. And I don't personally actually want a huge plastic dinosaur, Jurassic Park. Where are all these cars going to park? And it's only 2 or 3 months of the year. The rest of the year, there won't be any visitors much. So I can't see why spend millions of pounds on that idea. Let's retain the natural green open space and enhance what we already have at a lower budget.
Same question to you, Debbie. What local issue would you like to address that you know is of concern to residents?
Thank you, Stephen. Well, I do agree with Steve on this, that the one issue that really does stand out for Sandown residents is Brown's Golf Course. But Steve mentioned not sort of spending too much. I take a completely the opposite view. I think we need to be totally ambitious for this. I think we have a fantastic opportunity within the whole area. We have part of the canoe lake, which I think should never have been sold off, and I think we should buy that back. I think we've got Dinosaur Isle. The museum part of Dinosaur Isle is accredited and is a separate entity, which is doing fantastic groundbreaking work in paleontology. But it's the commercial element of Dinosaur Isle. We have Brown's and the zoo, but Brown's is absolutely at the centre of this. It's part of our heritage, but I see this as a fantastic opportunity for an Eden Island. And with that in mind, I've actually been in contact with Eden International, who were the consultants for the Eden North project in Morecambe. And this is what I'm working on with local people to draw up a plan that sees Browns at the centre of it. Why are we talking about putting a cafe into Dinosaur Isle when we have a fantastic cafe facility already at Browns? I think we need to fully restore the golf course and have that central to an Eden Island for the whole area, and it really could happen. We need to be ambitious. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Debbie. So as you know, there's a chance to make some closing comments now. You can comment on this process or you can just expand any way you like. Who would like to go first? Because I can't remember where we are.
Ladies first. In the
Debbie, please. And you are at the top of my screen, so Debbie, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Well, thank you very much for this opportunity. I think it's invaluable, especially at the moment when campaigning has to be said, rather strange this time to have this opportunity to actually connect with the public more directly. I have to say the last 4 years have been quite simply life-changing for me. I've learned so much and continue to learn every day. I've faced every challenge head on, and I hope I've proved that I am determined, genuine, but also kind-hearted. I see my role as a councillor primarily as a link between the residents whom I serve and the local authority. I take that role seriously and focus on finding the best solution to every problem that we face. I see this election coming at a time of great opportunity for Sandown and the island as a whole. A time of renaissance, if you like, emerging from the pandemic, where councillors, together with our community groups, can plan a better way forward. With a change of focus and the right team in place at County Hall, I think we can achieve so much. Putting the needs of the island first with greater transparency and public engagement will only happen if the right people are elected. Those who are not controlled by political diktats, but by their dedication and genuine desire to serve their communities. As an independent, I can promise you that I am such a person, and I ask that you give me your vote on May the 6th to continue as your councillor for Sandown North. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. Stephen, if you may, please.
Yes, thanks very much. An interesting discussion. I hope local residents and voters have found this helpful today. And I also say thank you to Stephen and his team for coming up with this idea of the videos. Really, if I'm trying to summarise in a few words, honesty, trust, mutual respect and care for each other as fellow human beings. This is my motto. As I've said earlier, cross-party politics, all round the table, over a cup of tea. Let's have sensible, sustainable discussion and development, planning for the future, not petty arguments, squabbles. Even I've seen at the council meetings and Isle of Wight Council, nasty human behaviour. Until we can sort that out, because that council time and at County Hall is very precious. And until we can sort those problems out first as fellow human beings with care and compassion, true love in our hearts, not only for each other and mutual respect, but for our local community as a whole. Until we can do that, we can't move forward. And what we will see is time and time again, budgets coming down, money from central government, incentives for local councils. Yes, let's spend this. Yes, let's spend that. And it's short-term policies and politics. It doesn't work for our island. Now, within the policies, the bullet points, as I've already mentioned, sustainable, sensible, sustainable development, housing alongside business for the future, transport, travel, access. I don't think these huge commercial schemes and plastic dinosaurs And on the Eden project, I went to the Zoom meetings for Morecambe Bay with the directors of Cornwall. A great respect, Councillor Andre wasn't there. I was invited. I've seen their costings. In order to maintain and sustain their business plan in Sandown, even on a smaller scale, the amount of traffic and visitors they need, and I would politely challenge and ask Councillor, has she had it costed? Where are all these cars going to park?
Stephen?
Yes, that's it.
Can you wrap up, please? And
exactly.
just quickly, I mean, I haven't had this circumstance so far in the 6 meetings I've hosted. But Debbie, would you very quickly like to reply to Stephen? I think it's only fair.
In terms of the Eden Island?
Yes, I think it's only fair. Just quickly, please.
Okay, I've actually been directly in touch with the consultants themselves. And yes, I agree with Stephen, there would need to be a feasibility study. And I've already looked at funding sources for the feasibility study to draw up a business plan to cost it out. But I believe if we brought the whole of that council area together, so Browns at the centre, incorporating the Wild Heart Trust, which is Sandown Zoo, and the elements of the Canoe Lake and Dinosaur Isle, that we would have a feasible, sustainable project that would attract the numbers. So yes, but I agree, we would have to do a feasibility study, and I've already identified funding sources for that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Stephen. No, sorry. No, you got that reply because you made a direct address to Debbie. And
can I just respond one sentence? It's only
one sentence.
Yes, I would just like to say on that Eden project, the Morecambe Bay project, these commercial schemes are going to take 5 to 10 years, even if you get the funding. They're not properly costed yet. I have a plan.
Thank you, Stephen. Stephen, I have other meetings that I have to host directly within minutes. Thank you both very much. You've both made a very good account for yourself. I genuinely feel like I know you both so much better. I mean, Debbie, I've met briefly once or twice before. I feel like I know you both so much better just from this experience. You've both put your points across very, very well. Good. Very happy.
Thank you
very much.
Thank
I wish you a lovely day.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Thanks for inviting us. Yeah.